Thank you for watching Sangheli Morphology Part 1. What's going on, guys? I'm glad you're here. As usual, I will be going over the lore of enemies from games and try to cover as much as I can. So if that's your thing, please subscribe, as I have 2 to 3 videos coming out weekly and I don't plan on stopping in the foreseeable future. So enough with asking for subs. This is a 2-parter, so part 2 should be out relatively shortly. The reason is, I did it this way actually, is so it won't be a super long video, but it's still gonna be kind of long. So anyways, let's get this shot of lore in while we can, right? Today, we'll be tackling the Sangheli. Not literally, of course, because they're walking Coke machines with legs, but a little more graceful. The Sangheli are going to stand around 7 foot 1 inch to 8 foot 6 inches. This makes them physically imposing to your standard human, and in some cases, even to Master Chief. Their overall appearance is quite strange and foreign to that of humans, but at the same time, it's also known to us. Reptilian in nature with leathery skin, reverse jointed legs, and sharp claws and teeth, they're actually going to look a lot like the reptiles we have on Earth. Guess we were lucky humans didn't have to evolve alongside with these beasts, as we probably would have lost out in that race. The hands of the Sangheli are going to contain 2 fingers and 2 thumbs. This being said, the most distinguished feature of the Sangheli are their mandibles, which branch out into 4s to form a mouth. Sangheli are intelligent, agile, and strong. These traits come together to give them a warrior culture, but that will be covered in part 2. You're here for the morphology. They're going to be very tall and very muscular. For example, an elite is actually going to contain a double set of pec muscles on their body, which will help them deliver powerful pushing force, or if you're unlucky and drinking at the bar with them, punching force. The jaws are quadruple hinged with 2 mandibles at the top and 2 at the bottom to form the overall mouth. It can be seen that the mandible and the jaw structures actually have different type of phenotypes amongst the elites. This is not to say though that this is going to affect reproduction, however. Liken it to taller versus shorter humans, lighter versus darker, full beards versus no beards. Humans still have a relatively good shot at reproduction, no matter what they look like, so mandibles may be, at least in Sangheli culture, a point of attraction, but not the whole package. Your typical mandibles can have anywhere from 6 to 12 teeth lining it. They also have a larger fang tip on each of the mandible. There are broader teeth on the upper jaw structure than on the bottom. Adults have widely spread phenotypic results due to their genetics. Because of this, mandibles are about as varied and individualistic as a human fingerprint. It should also be noted that some Sangheli possess molars as well. This would indicate that they are actually omnivorous rather than a purely carnivorous species. Much like humans, Sangheli utilize 2 nostrils to smell, each slightly in front and below the eye socket. Sangheli, being predators, are more than likely, just like any other predator, to actually have a very good and developed sense of smell. The hands of the elites are tetradactyl. This means that they are going to have 2 fingers on one side and opposing thumbs on the other, giving them a powerful grip. The legs have backward-facing knees, and believe it or not, if humans had the same leg shape, this would be far less stress on our knees and they would last longer. The legs are going to be shorter upper and lower of its knee, shorter but still longer than human legs, and much more powerful than human legs. Due to this structure, an elite is able to sprint and run longer distances than your average Marine, and has a much higher jump than your average human. All around, they beat us in strength. But perhaps due to this strength and structure, it led them not to create super soldiers of their own, as it wasn't necessary, and ultimately, this would give humans the final victory in the Covenant War. Their structure works for their planet, as the legs are able to support their 310 to 380 pound frames easily. Good lord, that is a beast. Compare that to the human, they wouldn't do so hot on Sanghelios. It should be noted that it is strange at all why they even have these structures to begin with. The gravity on Sanghelios is greater than Earth, which should lead to smaller organisms, yet here this 7 to 8 foot creature stands, much taller than humans at 6 feet. Due to the apparent spit in the face of evolution, elites are able to move around much easier on lower gravity planets like Earth, which would also still give them a combat advantage. Score 1 point for humans, however. Due to these legs, an elite would struggle with things like a ladder, a car, squatting, things of that nature. That being said, I wouldn't really get into a bench press competition with them. As stated, they have double pec muscles and higher planetary gravity. An elite looks like it could easily throw up 400 to 700 pounds without much sweat. Much like Vegeta and Goku training in extra gravity and at slower time, the elites have pretty much evolved to be this way. So how does all that muscle stay alive? The Sangheli have a binary circulatory system that pumps the purple blood throughout. Much like Earth, Sanghelios has a nitrogen-oxygen-rich atmosphere. Actually, more so than Earth, they have more oxygen, so that works for them. That being said though, they cannot breathe pure molecular oxygen. These guys are going to have leathery, scaly skin covering their body. The scales only cover a smaller portion of the body, and the rest appears to be more leather. The younger elites are going to have pale protective scales hanging from their necks that go away as they age. This is left over from when the adults used to carry their young in their jaws during the elites' caveman days, or really, I suppose, probably prior to that, when they were still completely animalistic, so when they were just essentially evolving. The eyes of the Sangheli looks absolutely predatory. Much like the reptiles on Earth, they are going to have forward-facing eyes with vertical slits and horizontal eyelids. This gives them a high-resolution central vision, great depth perception, much like humans. Weirdly, their blood may be purple, but they're actually not able to perceive the color purple. They actually end up seeing it as blue. So maybe this is why everything the Covenant has is purple, because they actually wanted it blue, but then nobody corrected these behemoths. Maybe just my theory on that one. The eye color ranges from red to green and even gray in some cases. That being said, most have yellow or orange eyes. Fun fact, the Sangheli can see an infrabrown, and this indicates a lack of L-cone cells. Just thought you should know that. Male versus female Sangheli, also known as sexual dimorphism, is not as pronounced as it is in humans, but that's not to say it's not there at all. The females will appear smaller and paler than their male counterparts, but these are still some gigantic women. The males are typically going to have a more leathery scent, whereas the females have been said to have a cleaned feather scent. A human male put next to an elite female will still be much smaller, and I'm also just going to throw this out there, I would wager she could probably still outbench you. The average lifespan is weirdly long for elites. Your typical human becomes combatively useless after around 40. With training, they can prolong it to around 55. An elite is still considered young, very young at 55. Their combat effectiveness does dwindle like any other species with age, but some elites have been known to still be a force to be reckoned with at around 90 years old. So, as far as the golden years of their life, I'm going to go ahead and say a lot longer than humanity. So I wanted to try something else as well. Considering I have a biology degree, I figured I would tell you why the elites, at least in my mind, have these attributes. Most reptiles are going to be meat eaters and somewhat plant eaters. The mandibles during the prehistoric days more than likely gave them an advantage to grab prey and take chunks out of it. Considering the elites have animals that they farm, this is not too far-fetched of an idea. The skin of the Sangheli is like any other reptile as well. Leathery and strong, this keeps the elements at bay and helps them survive. The eye structure helps them hunt and locate prey easily across plains. Speaking of plains, much like humans, the Sangheli would hunt, and when they hunt, they would have to stand up. As they stood up more and more, this caused changes in the structures to their legs to support the weight. The weight was enhanced on their planet as it was larger and had far greater gravity. As they shifted more and more to an upright stance, they would eventually have their legs changed to be able to support all their weight rather than just say 75% of it or 80%. It became the primary form of locomotion. When they started standing upright all the time, the hands would have to change as well to grasp rather than walk. The structure still appears like a foot if you kind of use your imagination. Due to this standing, the elite's head wouldn't have to be so far forward, which would allow pressure to be pulled off the neck. This would have allowed a larger brain, which would have led to increased intelligence over time. Now, most importantly, the reason the elites were able to grow so large was their oxygen-enriched atmosphere. The atmosphere during the time of the dinosaurs was only a few percent higher than it is now, yet those were absolute titans in that era. This powered their body, giving them all of these attributes, and in turn, the muscles were able to grow larger and support a much larger animal than, say, the conditions on Earth would allow currently. And all of this was in spite of the gravity, but like I said, without the increased oxygen, they would not have been so large. Well, we have just completed the morphology of the Sangheli. As I said, this is only part 1. The next video will be going over the culture, intelligence, technology, and eventual joining of the Covenant, so make sure you come back to see that one. If you guys like this, please like and subscribe. I'm always definitely appreciative of the people who want to hear me jaw on for 10 minutes at a time. Alright guys, thanks, and I will catch y'all in the next one.